we've got a couple of people out that I've heard from. So we're jumping right in. Tonight's core value is coach. So tonight you're listening to Coach Kuntz, and the work ethic is the topic. And I subheaded that appreciate sweat and calluses. And I think I'm going to have another subtitle called Get Physical or Get Dirty. So, Palin, this is for you. Okay. So, I'm starting off tonight with a couple of quotes. And of course, I had to go to Mike Rowe, Dirty Jobs, to get some of my favorite quotes. So, uh, these are all from Mike Rowe. Work ethic is important because, unlike intelligence, athleticism, charisma, or any other natural attribute, it's a choice. He says, I can say the willingness to get dirty has always defined us as a nation, and it's a hallmark of hard work and a hallmark of fun, and dirt is not the enemy. And this is also micro, worth doing hurts a little. And I actually have one here from Theodore Roosevelt. Regardless of your political spectrum, don't throw out the message because of the messenger. He says, our country does not call for a life of ease, but the life of strenuous activity. And I love the work ethic, and I like hard work. And I'm going to get into my background and even what's happening in my life today to illustrate that I embrace, I practice what I preach. Okay. So I'm going to go back in my timeline. We all have a history. We all either mowed lawns or sold gum on the playgrounds, helped out here, there, and that sort of thing. I started off cleaning up construction sites. My dad was in construction, and so I was stripping forms. I was doing all that grunt work, dirt work. They call it child labor, right? Unless you're doing it for family, and then it's just a valuable educational tool, right? So that's where I started. But then I lived in a rural area, so dad always was hooking me up, and they did business and construction outside of town and on farms and stuff. So I got into stacking hay, moving irrigation pipe, mucking stalls, always a favorite. And then as I got older, I needed some of that runaround money before I had a full steady job. And even after I had a full steady job, I was hustling other things. And here was one of my favorites, cleaning the sumps at the local car wash. Those things are like 3 feet wide, 6 feet deep, and about 10 feet long. And we went in with 5-gallon buckets and shovels and cleaned those out once every couple of weeks in the summertime, mucking the mud out, putting it in a trailer, and then having to dump out the trailer. And, that was, you talk about dirty jobs. It was real dirty. We'd put our coveralls on, and it was a hot, sweaty mess. And then I got into unloading the salt cargo for the Culligan distributor in town. So a semi would come in, and he would have, a quarter's worth of salt for all of his customers there. And so it would be myself, wrestlers and football players would all get paid to come in and unload the salt. So I guess he did not have a forklift. I will tell you that. He probably has one now, but back then he had grunt labor. That's what high school kids did for extra money. With those 50 bags of salt, hustle them off of the truck, go stack them in his warehouse. So that was hard work. That was physical work. Pounding fence posts, splitting wood. And even in my college days, I split wood. When I had my own house and I had a fireplace, I loved going out, sawing wood, and then splitting it. And I'm not talking getting a splitter, hydraulic splitter from Home Depot or Lowe's. When I'm talking splitter, I'm talking a maul, right? An axe and wedges, sledgehammers with wedges. So I was splitting wood by hand. I mean, gloves, blisters, calluses, the works. Sawing timber, when I was in college, one of my summer jobs was working for Champion International. And we started our workday up in the mountains at 6 a.m. That's when we started our saws. And once the saws were going, we went 8 hours without stopping. And the first couple of days, in fact, it was probably the first week and a half when I started that job, my hands were like claws from hanging onto the saw and vibrating for 8 hours straight. and I couldn't open my hands up. They had to literally physically be opened up, bend gay, put socks on them, go to bed, and somehow I was able to do it again the next day and the next day until you finally got to where you could move your hands regularly. And it was good physical work. And I can appreciate work for that work. One of my big summer, not summer jobs, they lasted several summers. We were landscaping in college. And that turned into be an entrepreneurial thing that we'll get into on another call. But the physical part of that, one of the homes that we did was a dome home, okay, an underground home. The guy who owned it had a different aesthetic. He didn't want grass and all that kind of stuff. He wanted gravel and railroad ties. He didn't want any maintenance. He wanted this done, and he didn't want to do anything for yard work, which I can appreciate the older I get. So I and one other guy spread 360 yards of 2-inch rock with shovels and wheelbarrows. We got the gravel trucks to load up on top and spill it out and spread it as far as we could, but we moved 360 yards of 2-inch rock by hand, and we got it done in a summer. And plus we wrestled railroad ties and made terraced flower beds and that sort of thing. So I can do hard work. I've done hard work. I can appreciate the hard work, and I've learned some great lessons from hard work. So here are a couple of them, because I'm gonna challenge all of you who aren't already doing something hard to do something hard. And first, make sure you're using safety equipment. Okay, that was a requirement running chainsaws, from hearing protection to chaps, hard hats. When you're out there doing stuff, and especially running dangerous things, don't be stupid. Second was good footwear. I don't care if you're out, especially in the woods, or if you're working on steep slopes, roofing, for example, something like that. Make sure you've got the right footwear with the right traction soles and stuff on it. Good gloves are essential. You don't have to bust your hands up and beat them up any more than is necessary. So make sure you get good fitting gloves and good gloves. Your stamina. And Jim, I know you're going to have some input here with your Spartan stuff, but that's the hard work from just doing physical stuff. So here are some of my life lessons from that. Okay, you're not done until the cleanup is done and your tools are put away. There's something I felt like I've gotten soft over the years in many respects. Going from blue collar, to white collar to no collar work. I felt like I was missing out on some of this stuff. I really did. But you have to be responsible for your job site. You have to clean it up. It's just like making your bed every day, brushing your teeth every day, wiping your butt every day. There are things you just have to do. And that's part of it. And that includes putting the tools away when you're done, putting them in the right spot. Or if you borrow tools, get them back to their owners in better condition than you borrowed them. So that was my first life lesson. Those were things I learned mostly from my dad and farmers and ranchers that I worked for. But here's my takeaway after many years away from the hard work. Blue collar workers are my superheroes. And I came up with an analogy. They wear a cape. And so tonight I'm going to give you the cape that they wear, CAPE. That's the acronym that I'm using. What I've learned from hard work and what you can learn from hard work. Any of you who have younger kids, younger nephews, you're going to end up with grandkids, or you're going to end up with some employees. You want them to learn a good work ethic. This is what's in it for them. Okay. The first is the letter C. What you learn from hard work is that you are capable. C is for capable. You find out that your body can always do more than you think it can. You can always push your body further. And you realize how much power as just human beings, just flesh and blood, we actually have. We can manipulate and change environments. We can build stuff. I mean, it's pretty incredible what we can do. And that builds confidence in our ability, confidence in who we are as human beings. And I think about childbirth. I don't know if any of you have witnessed childbirth, or even if you've witnessed it in the animal kingdom, right? Birth in general. Birth is hard work. But when it's done, women realize something. They're capable. They are more than capable. And they become their own kind of superhero afterwards when they realize that they can overcome that kind of trauma, that kind of pain, that kind of effort, in that transition period. And they come out knowing that they're capable. I've got a couple of friends that are through hikers. They've done the Appalachian Trail. They call it the Triple Crown, the Appalachian Trail, the Pacific Crest Trail, and the Continental Divide Trail. Okay, that's where, you start down in Florida and you end up in Maine, right? And you pack it on your back and you go. And there are days that they're doing 35 miles through mountains, through desert, and they always said they never thought they could do more than like 15 miles. And they didn't think they could do more than 20. Then they didn't think they could do 30. And then they were pulling off 35s. It's like the Bannister in the 4-minute mile. You can push your limits to a point where you have no limits. The only limit you have is the next limit you set for yourself. So that's number one, capable. You're going to learn that you're capable. Your body's capable. Your mind is capable. Number two is appreciation. And to me, this is critical. Some work can never be automated, and there is no substitute for hands-on. I don't care what industry you're in, what business you're in, at some point, some of those components somewhere along the line to get into the end user's hands require physical labor. Just for either manufacturing, for moving the parts, for mining the materials to make it, whatever it is, it takes a human being. And you've got to have some appreciation for the beginning, the start of that process and the end result. You also appreciate the gift it is that we can do it and that someone does it regularly. Even if we don't like to do hard work or we don't have to do hard work anymore, we've been in the trenches, we paid our time, we paid our dues this time, let the younger bucks get in there and do it, right? That's true, but we should at least appreciate that it takes work and effort to get the job done. And so that you can learn that by being in the trenches yourself. And you can't appreciate it in the same way unless you've experienced it. I think all of us can vouch for that. You know that you can be self-reliant if you had to. Okay, that's part of that appreciation lesson, right? If you absolutely couldn't get somebody on the phone to come do what you wanted done, or the extra help wasn't coming, or whatever, COVID canceled them out, right? You know that you could do it. You're capable. You can do it on your own, and you can appreciate that. Most importantly, I think with the appreciation is empathizing with people. Empathize, truly empathize with how difficult somebody's job is. When they're spending money with you, right? Somebody wants to come in and spend money on a gun course, right? Or hire you for something. Know how hard it was for them to earn that money to get there. You've got to have that appreciation for what it took them, not just to sign up, not just to show up, but what it took to earn the funds to get there. And you learn those valuable life lessons, right? That's where we end up with Kate. So you can appreciate that as well. Now, I taught all of my kids to appreciate everyone. And that was one of the life lessons I took away from just working hard and being appreciated and being unappreciated. My kids, I wasn't going to let any one of them grow up not appreciating everybody in the work they did. And I want to jump back to with capable. I've done hard things, hard work, but one of the things, when you've got to the point where you're almost broken, that's when you realize you can push through. And I was thinking about that because I've not done childbirth and I've not done a through hike. I've done hard things, but my first day at airborne school in the Army, I got on a plane in Missoula, Montana. It was like 30 degrees. It was early June, 30 some degrees in the morning. I had a light down jacket. And that afternoon, I got off a plane in Columbus, Ohio, on my way to a shuttle hike to Atlanta. And I think it was 98 degrees and 98% humidity. And I thought I was gonna just walking from, the terminal to the shuttle plane. I thought, oh man, this is terrible. And I kid you not, like 5 hours later. This isn't, you know, indoctrination thing. Well, hey, get your bags. Here's your barracks. Go check in, do this. It's like, drop your crap and show up to the gig pit. You know, now we're going to see how many mountain climbers you can do. Now we're going to see how many push-ups you can do, right? In this new humid climate that you're not acclimated to. And they push you, push you, push you. And I swear, I blacked out. I was doing push-ups, and I thought, ringing in my ears started, things started buzzing in and buzzing out. That had never happened to me before. And I've worked out hard. That had never happened to me before. And I thought, I'm gonna get flushed out. I'm gonna drop out, because I've already seen a whole bunch of these guys get flushed out, right? And in like the first 15, 30 minutes, they're already going, and I'm still working, you know, we're in the first hour here. Well, they turn the showers on. They've got outdoor showers, right? In the gig pits, they call it a gig pit. It's all sawdust, and you're in there, you know, doing calisthenics, and then if it's too hot, red flag day, they just turn the showers on, overhead shower, so you're soaking wet, but at least it felt good. And I know I blacked out for a moment, because I like sort of came to, and it's like, where am I? What's happening? But I got my wits back about me. And they didn't see, if I did drop out and stop, they didn't see it. And if it was short-lived, because I would have been canned. But I know what it's like to be that close, pushing yourself so hard that you know you're going to leave it all there. You know, you're going to do it one way or another. And after that, I was like Superman. After I survived that first day, I knew there was no way they were going to beat me. There was no way anyone was going to be able to take this away from me. And you gain something in yourself, knowing that you can overcome that. All right, so that's C and A. All right, capable and appreciation. P on CAPE is for pride. And this is one of my favorite sayings. Again, passed it on to my children, and they're passing it on to their children now. And that's how you do anything is how you do everything. You're going to do something sloppy, you're going to do everything sloppy. You're going to fill out a job application sloppy, you're going to work sloppy, right? You turn in incomplete work, that's what I can expect out of you. You know, so when you have details that you have to pay attention to, you have to take pride in it, even if it's moving dirt. I told Jim one day, he said he was mucking stalls, and I said, hey, I'd muck stalls, I said, but I'd turn it into a competition, because mine would be cleaner than yours. And he says, I'll take you up on it. You know, but again, it's like, if I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it thoroughly, and I'm going to turn it into my own competition. This could be the best job I can do. And that's that pride. You got to take pride in work, even if it's dirty work. Even if it's dirty work, you can take pride in it. And paying attention to detail. This was another thing I learned in the military. And my dad, he was a construction worker, but also a finish carpenter. And it was always that measure twice, cut once thing. And I was always in a hurry. Everything I did, I was in a hurry. I wanted to move on to the next task. And it's that paying attention to detail. And so I understood it from that perspective, but I never really got the full concept of detail until we had a government issue, a GI inspection in the barracks when I was in basic training. So we were already in, and this was, you know, you had to do your bed every day. You had to get your foot locker set up every day. Everything was inspected every day. But then you had the GI where he would come in and look in the corners, right? He would look in the places you didn't look. And our drill sergeants came in, and I mean, they busted our backs. It's like, this GI's coming down. You got to have everything. You got to be looking at every dang thing. So we did. We had Brasso out. We were doing the drain caps on the floor. You know, we took the drain caps off, and we did a little ring, the little pool ring underneath. We did that in the showers and in the latrine areas. We had this dialed in. And then we're standing there when the GI comes in, literally white glove, puts the little white glove on, right? He goes walking around, he's touching this, touching that, everything's good. We're all just all, ha, we got this, right? And then he unscrews, takes out a little Swiss Army knife, and he does the screwdriver, and he takes off the drain cap, and we thought, oh, we got him. we did that whole little ring underneath there and everything. We got him. So he pulls that off, and then he reaches down in the drain as far as he can with his middle finger, as far as he could. Guess what he found? Dirt. We didn't go deep enough. You know, we just got the surface, what we could see when we took the drain cap off. He went down the drain where we didn't go. And the lesson of that story was he left and we got done that. And back then they butt cans, people could smoke in the military, and most people did. And so they had coffee cans that had sand and or water in them, and you'd extinguish your butts outside of your dormitory room that you shared with 8 other guys. And when we got dismissed and when we got called back up to our barracks, every bunk was upside down. All our foot lockers were emptied out. Stuff was everywhere. And even the butt cans poured out all over the top of all of it. And the drill sergeants came in and said, clean this mess up. You know, and it's, what was the lesson? Detail. Pay attention to detail. Even if it's dirty jobs, you can still pay attention to detail. So you don't come from something like that without a life lesson. So that's pride, taking pride in what you do. Lastly, the E on CAPE is example. You need to lead by example. I don't care what industry you're in, customer service, retail, wholesale, whether you've got employees, whether you've got staff, whether you've got family members, you've got to lead by example. Your family, your partners, coworkers, employees need to know that you will do whatever is necessary to get the job done. And that is the example you can set by getting dirty. The esteem and respect that you garner has real value, and it has monetary value. It goes a long way. And ultimately, here's your big takeaway. You are responsible for the culture you create at home and at work. You're responsible for that culture. So it doesn't have to be drudgery. I want to end with this, right? It doesn't have to be drudgery. You can make it fun. You can make it a competition. You should enjoy work. So volunteer to help somebody do something physical if you want, more than just helping them move some furniture in the house and being done. Find somebody who needs some hard work done and volunteer to do it. See what it's like. See what it's like, you know, if you don't have physical limitations, of course, and try it. Break a sweat. Be sore the next day. I don't get endorphin rushes from running and working out. I never did. And I've done plenty of it. Plenty enough to know that I don't get the endorphin rush to make it fun. I just don't. For me, the fun is getting it over with so I can move on. That's the only endorphin rush I get out of it. And you know, even in the when I was in the National Guard, they scaled it back from doing timed mile runs to doing a 4-mile run. You had an hour to finish. And you can crawl 4 miles in an hour. Okay, so that wasn't it. But what I did was they had these courses and there's always elevation. So I would briskly walk, because I hated to run. I would briskly walk until there was a downhill stretch, and then I'd turn on the steam. And then I would use the terrain to my advantage, because I just didn't get that endorphin rush. But I always felt good the next day when my body was telling me, hey, you did something good. That's where I get my motivation to do it again, to keep moving on. So find that. And last quote I'm going to use, this is a scriptural quote. It was from Romans. Do not be haughty, but associate with the lowly. We need to respect and find and build relationships with, if you call it lowly, but with people who do the dirty work, people who are on the lower end of the food chain, if you will. I've been there, and those are your customers. Those are your resource people. Those are the people that are going to refer people to you. Those are your connection. That's your gold. These people are your gold. And Jim, I think you've said it before, you know, your network is your net worth. And that includes all the blue collar out there. So learn to appreciate that. Put your cape on, be a professional, right? Be a superhero and get it all done. And The last thing I'm going to mention is I felt it's been almost a year. Well, I finished a campaign run and I was out of my mind sitting around. I felt lethargic and I felt like I haven't done enough hard work, physical work for a long time. And I've been kind of disgruntled for a while. And again, I told you I'm not a gym rat. You're not going to find me pumping iron and running. It just doesn't work for me. What I like is results. I like productivity that makes sense to me and I can see a difference, right? I told my wife, and this was probably October of last year. I told her, I said, I need to go split wood. I need a job where I'm accountable to get my butt out of bed, because you might find me at home in my robe at 11 o'clock, working on the computer, but just not motivated to get up and really tackle the day. I had the ability to not have to, so I didn't. And I told my wife, I said, I have to be accountable. I've got to be accountable to somebody else because I'm not doing it for myself. So I want a job that's physical. I pounding fence posts, chopping wood, stacking it. I need something different. I've got a great wife. She got on this Indeed.com and she said UPS is looking for unloaders, truck unloaders in the morning, 4:30 a.m., 4-hour shift. I said, perfect. So I went home. We literally were, I know exactly where we were when she told me we were driving, having this conversation. She looked it up immediately. And when I got home, I applied for a job unloading the great big semi trucks for UPS, right? Well, now I know they're, in a day, it's like at our little hub here, 15,000 packages a day. And I was doing earregs, big packages, heavy stuff that, wouldn't go down a conveyor belt. So it was like CrossFit. If any of you have done CrossFit, I mean, it's big, heavy, and it's nonstop. First 5 minutes after clock in, I've broken a sweat and I'm going, right? So needless to say, come to find out, and I didn't know this is just part-time work, 20 hours a week. And, but it has benefits that I wasn't even aware of at the time. And I now have what I call my congressional medical benefit plan for part-time work after 9 months. And I've got everything: vision, dental, hearing, medical with $10 copay and $1,000 deductible for myself and $100 deductible for my wife. So all of a sudden, what I needed to satisfy that urge to just be productive and do something physical has had other benefits. I'm accountable. I get up in the morning. By 10 o'clock, I'm showered and ready for my day, and I'm wide awake and I'm charging. I've already moved 15,000 packages or more for the Valley, and I got benefits like a U.S. congressman. It's unbelievable. And I had no idea. So, there can be reward out there, and you just don't know what it is. And as we go forward with gas prices and stuff the way they are, I wasn't doing it for the money. But I'll tell you what, I haven't felt the sting of this recession like most people, because I've got this little extra it just charges my bank account. And so don't be afraid of hard work. Embrace hard work. You never know where it's going to lead. The other thing is I've met some incredible people with that little stint, right? Some incredible and fine people. Fine young man that's led to someone on this call even. So get out there and get it done. And that's my challenge to everybody out here. I know that you're all hard workers. It's more than just the mental power. Get out there and get dirty once in a while. Okay. Jim, I know you're going to say something about Spartan on this, or the fence post holes you were digging out there on your ranch.
Actually, neither. What's interesting, especially being an entrepreneur and working from home the last 4 years and the last 20 before that, I think my life was probably a little bit more like Jim Svilson's, who's a member. I lived in the corporate life. I wore a suit every day and, walked on thick carpet in the corporate office and, had nice meals for me when I needed them. There's no exchange for hard work as it relates to understanding values and the importance of life and where it can get you, right? And so I didn't learn a lot of hard work skills in that cushy life. But fortunately for me, the 12 years before that, I worked my ass off at In-N-Out Burger, building a career, top of my game there, which required me to work 9, 10, 11 hours a day, 6 days a week, with my hands, in the kitchen or whatever was called of me. So by the time I got to corporate life, I knew what it meant to work hard and get dirty, but I started to forget. So then when I began consulting and creating my own businesses, I went back to some of those roots of what working hard meant. And in my case, because the type of work I do, I don't get dirty, but I put in those long hours, or I get up at 5 a.m. to take that call because one of my clients could only take a 5:15 call on his way into the office, right? So there's different versions of hard work and suffering. But once you understand the concept and you apply it, you'll see the value of that. Now that I live here on a big piece of property that takes daily management, I use the time out there in the yard or in the pasture working with the horses or the cows or huffing hay or whatever it might be. I use that as a reminder of, what it's like to not only work in a physical environment, so I become more sympathetic to people that have those types of jobs, but it also reminds me of what it takes, to get something done that you're passionate about. I was passionate about having this property, having this amount of animals, and having the lifestyle I have, but it takes hard work literally here every day. I can put 2 hours a day in without even thinking about it on this property. If I didn't have a business, I could work 8 hours a day on my property and still not have enough time to do it. So, I'm always reminded of the value of hard work and how to apply it. I volunteered last week to help the school move some lockers. We have to do PTO hours as parents of the private school. And they said, yeah, we need 10 dads. I guess you'd consider that feminist or whatever. We need 10 dads, 3 of which have a trailer, and bring your muscles, right? So I showed up and we had to move 50 banks of lockers. And literally it was so heavy per locker. It took 4 of us to move each one. And I just thought, I'm fortunate that this isn't my daily job. And so again, I was just reminded of, the benefit of having my own business and dictating my own rules and hours of work. So to Rod's point, the hard work pays off. Don't forget it. As I've said in an earlier call, being an entrepreneur literally is fucking hard. Don't forget that. There's no easy breaks, right? But it's your business, your opportunity, and what you make of it, you'll receive those rewards, okay? As well as working for somebody else and being the top of your game, if that's where you want to be. It's hard, but embrace it, enjoy the ride, and realize the fruits of your labor. There's a lot of joy in that. You get to come home and feel satisfied with a hard day's work. So don't forget that. Rod, I love your cape, right? And all those points, capable, appreciation, pride, and example are all great points to bring up. Matter of fact, I taught some of those in my lesson today at school for our students. So good job on that. And I think maybe open up for a few questions, and I might have a couple more comments as we roll on. Thanks.
Anybody got a hand up? There's
I'll lead
there we go.
off.
Bruce Cartwright.
Mr. Carr was my dad. I'm Bruce. One thing I remember, I was running a 6K up in Manchester, New Hampshire when I was still in law enforcement. And one of the older gents was in the race with us. And at this time, this guy had to be in his 60s, and he was hard as woodpecker lips. And he had a Marine Corps t-shirt on, and on the back was the Eagle Globe and the anchor. Okay, you see that all the time. On the front, it had a saying, and it said, "Nobody ever drowned in their own sweat." And I always thought that was a pretty cool thing. So, at any rate, that's why there's a quart of larch that got delivered unsplit that I'm turning from rounds into tiny little pieces that'll fit in my wood stove, among other things. So Good session tonight. Thank you.
Thanks, Bruce. I will say the old adage, I think Confucius say, he who chops his own wood warms himself twice, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And that is one of my favorite physical activities, chopping wood. I've helped more friends get their wood in and chop it. I don't know why. Maybe I'm a psychopath that way or sicko that way. I like chopping wood. Good for you.
A lot of folks do.
Yeah. Jim, I want to jump back in. I don't see anyone hand up here yet, but just, when you said no matter what we're doing as an entrepreneur, when we're working for ourselves, it's just hard. It is hard. And sometimes the hardest part is being motivated, and staying motivated. And that's where I was at. And hard work got me back to being able to face the hard part of being an entrepreneur, so going back to my roots did help. So I appreciate that.
One other thing on that, Rod, at one point before I went into law enforcement, I had a private practice, and there were nights, my wife will tell you stories about me going in and working at the office till 3 or 4 in the morning because no one was there. No one was bothering me, and I had the discipline to go do that. And it's a pain, but what you lack in an entrepreneurial business is basically a framework to get your work done. If you work for somebody, then what happens is, hey, show up here, do this, do that, whatever. And you just typically don't have that. So having the ability to have some discipline and have a plan, and like one of my friends said, plan your work, work your plan, tends to be really helpful. But staying motivated, there are days you're just like, oh, this sucks. And then there are other days like, oh, that was pretty cool. And you're going to have good and bad days. At least that's my experience.
Yeah, you're right. And that's part of why I love Mondays so much. This Monday night call, my week is set up in front of me. This is my motivational call. I've already dealt with, I've had a rough day. It's been a very busy day, nonstop. And I like busy. I like being productive. So this is the kickoff to the rest of the week. So this is my hard work as well. So that I appreciate. Anybody else want to weigh in? I've got one final thought, and Jim, you said you might have something else there.
Yeah, I just want to remind everybody that, Rod, you and I have the benefit of looking at all the courses that we've done and where this is going. All of these discussions are foundational elements to build out your business or be a better employee in a company or be a better person in life, what have you. But these are all foundational elements. That's probably 2/3 of what these nights are all about. The other third is an open forum for you to ask questions about your own individual businesses, direction that you're going, marketing, whatever, capital raise, decisions, to be bold enough to either ask those questions live, with your video on, or ask the questions in the chat, and you can ask them privately, whatever. But, through you asking questions and us talking about it as a group is going to make us all stronger. We might learn something as a group that applies to somebody else, not just yourself, because you're asking the question. So remember those two things. These are all foundational elements. They will play a role in your life and in your business, especially as you start to put them together. But never forget that this is an opportunity for us to help solve your problems live on these calls and bring that type of value to you. And just as a reminder, there's some great books on our website, as resources. You could always watch any of these calls, back calls, they're all Zoom on there, categorized now. And then there's other documents and resources based on what you're doing. And look, if you just need something outside of that, feel free to reach out to us. If you just need a swift kick in the ass, reach out to us too. We'll send you a text or whatever you need. I'm passionate about people succeeding in their entrepreneurial endeavors. This isn't about Rod and I being talking heads here. This is about interaction and helping you solve your problems. And it's exciting to us to do that And this group was specifically created for that. So please leverage it. I know we've got a few people on tonight's call, but we got a lot of people in this group now. So please leverage this as you watch these calls. We want to be here for you. And there's no greater reward than to see you guys succeed or at least achieve your endeavors. Jim, this is the last thing I'll say. I think last week I announced I'm on 75 hard. So I'm today's day 8. For my 4th round is 75 hard. I feel great. I'm up early, getting shit done. And if you're not familiar with the program, hit me up because I would love to see you jump in because Jim, as you know, man, you're sharper, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
For sure. I keep contemplating, do I want to do it again or when I'm going to do it again?
Well, look, because you're contemplating, our boy Palin's contemplating as well. Maybe the two of you guys should rally together and just do a round of it. In my mind, because we strategize everything. If I get it done now and you still have time, you'd be done before Christmas and New Year's, and you'd go into 2023 as a stud. So maybe stop contemplating, really think about it. And by the way, look, guys, that's a personality trait, right? You're either in or you're not. But being on the fence, isn't always a great place to be. Like when I mentioned it to my wife 9 days ago, literally, I said, I was thinking about doing it. She goes, we'll start tomorrow. What are you waiting for? I was like, shit, I know, you're right. All right, I'm going to start tomorrow. So I did, right? But that's just my personality, right? Going after those things that we think and talk about, right? Hey, look, I hope everybody succeeds at these things. And if you decide, hey, I'm going to jump in, I hope you succeed at the days. What's the worst that can happen? You go 25 days of 75 hard and you fail. You just had 20 days of great health to see what it feels like and jumping right in instead of sitting on the fence, right? So thinking about it, start tomorrow. Why not, right? So Rod, I'm done harassing everybody. Go for it, Rod. You can wrap it up.
That's good. All right. Well, first I'm gonna bounce back to Bruce. You mentioned planning your work and working your plan, and it doesn't surprise me because last week what we discussed afterward on this call was business plans and reviewing your business plan and how to go about that and how to go and that thing. And to me, part of that is, this 75 hard puts you on a track. You've got goals for every day, things that you've got to hit. You've got to target. And that's how I am with my day, right? I start every day with targets. I not only have business plans, but I have daily targets and weekly targets. This is what I'm going to accomplish this week. Break it down. I got to get this done today. And then you've got the interruptions and the other stuff that, somehow you wedge all that in too. But planning your work and working your plan, absolutely essential. And got a lot out of that discussion last week. I think all of us did. Next week, Jim is doing priorities and delayed satisfaction. So Jim's got that call next week. Be thinking about business questions, issues you've got at work, anything that's coming up that we or the rest of the group can tackle together, right? Just like Jim said, 2 heads are better than 1. There's safety in a multitude of counselors. So we got great people, great skills, great talent on this call. Let's exploit it.
Rod, it looks like Jim's got a question.
Yeah. So I had some free time. I went back to catch one of the sessions that I had missed. Is there a way to know the dates of the recordings? They're not classified by date. And when I went in, they were all done by category.
Well, specifically, Jim, I can answer the question if you ask me, and maybe we should add the date to that. It's probably a good idea because then it'd help you find it easier to
right. Yeah, I went back. Right? I was like, oh, I'll just go look for the 19th.
Yeah. Do you know the date that you were trying to catch, by the way? Or the one that you watched?
It was last week. Yeah, for some reason, Mondays just seem to be the day that the most disruptions happen in the family.
Yeah. Sorry. Right.
Look, it just happens.
We deliberated over the night for a long time. We thought, Sunday night would be the best night because you could set your week up. But then, as people of faith, we thought, Sunday's really kind of your day of rest with your family. We didn't want to interrupt Sundays. So Monday night was the next best thing, right? So sorry about that. Again, while we record it, we will add the dates. That's a great idea. Good recommendation. So we'll start doing that.
Just the other thing I'm going to point out real quick, if that ever, I never want any of this kind of stuff to be a hurdle. Feel free to text Jim or myself and say, hey, what was the topic so I can find it? Reach out. We'll get this corrected, but never feel like we're unapproachable. Reach out. And, we've got the master log here. We could find it. We'd point you right to it. So we're a resource. So utilize the resource. I'm changing my view here so I can see hands go up if they do. I don't see any others now. Get everybody's questions answered? All right. That's the coaching call. We won't take any more of your time. We'll see you here next week. I appreciate everybody again. Tackle this week. Get out there. Even if you don't get dirty, get physical.
Thanks, Rod. Awesome
Guys,
job,
have a
buddy.
great night.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.